Assalamualaikum. I would like to start with this video with the chapter 1 for data structure. But before I proceed, I would like to remind you that you should grab your skill on developing object-oriented programming in Java before we start with chapter 2 next week, which is to implement array list data structure. So as I mentioned in assignment lab exercise, in future, you should practice by your own to develop application using object-oriented programming. Try to look back on how to develop student as an application, for example, create class student or whatever object that you want to store. Try to look how to declare attributes and methods, calling private and public attributes and methods. Alright, okay, so now chapter 1, introduction to data structure. So for this chapter, you should learn how to define primitive data type. You should know can define what is ADT or abstract data type, and you can differentiate between ADT and data structure. Alright, so first of all, what is primitive data type? Previously, you learned in programming subject, you learn about primitive data types. There are 3 categories. It can be integral, can be character, byte, short, integer, and long. It can be in a form of floating point, such as float and double. And it can be also Boolean, which the value can be true or false. This is example of declaration for simple or primitive data types that you usually use in your programming subject before. Next, another data type is a reference data type that we can call as pointer. A reference data type stores the memory location. Different with this one, primitive data type, when you declare int num, num is a variable that store value, such as you set the num as 2, so the content of num is 2. But different with reference data type store address of another variable. For example, okay, this is object programming. We have class student, and we want to declare student object under the class student, and you set student as a new object from the student class. So the student, look at this figure, the student with S capital is the object, is the class, while the student, which we small s here, is the variable that contain address of the class for that student. So this is a reference data type. Now, what is abstract data type? Abstract is an abstraction. It do not contains the detail about the program, the implementation details. An entity is presented as a class type, and you can presume entity as a single entity. For example, if you want to imagine about entity, if you want to read a novel, for example, or any book, there will be an abstract that you can read. So from the abstract, you can get ideas on what the contents of the book, right? So this is how ADT can be imagined. Abstract data type, for example, it gives you the general representation of your application codes. It's not contain the detail of the programming, not contains the detail of the implementation. Okay, what is data structure? Data structure is the implementation of operation on that data. Right? In programming, the term data structure refers to the way of organizing and accessing data, of course, for better algorithm efficiency. So in this subject, you are going to learn at least 5 data structure, which is array list, linked list, queue, stack, and a BST. So there will be 5 data structure that will be covered in this course. So what are the difference between ADT and data structure? ADT is a logical picture. It gives you an ideas about the data of the application and the operations that you can perform on that data. While data structure is the actual representation of the data during the implementation and the algorithm to manipulate the data. Let's say you are going to develop a house, to build a house. Nak buat satu rumah. So rumah tu there are macam ada batu bata, ada tiang, kan? So logical picture is you have to draw the architecture layout. Mana depan, mana tengah, kan? Mana pintu, di mana pintunya. So you have to draw the design of the house. That is ADT. But to implement that, there should be a data structure. So you have to calculate, to store, how to, macam mana kita kata nak lekatkan tiang dengan tiang, macam mana nak combine batu bata tu dengan tiang-tiang tu, okay? Macam mana nak color tiang tu, that is data structure. Okay, so ADT is in the logical level, while data structure is in the implementation level. Data structure is to implement the data and then to develop the operation. Logical view is to give the general representation of the application. Okay, more about ADT versus data structure. ADT is implementation independent. Yes, you have a design. You can implement ADT with whatever program codes, language that you want to use, such as Java. You can use C++. You can use Python. Because it's only describe what are the data type for the application, what are the operation that you can perform in the application. Alright. While data structure is implementation dependent. Okay, you have to know how the list is implemented. So, let's say you want to use Java. So how do you declare the linked list, array list? Are you going to use the predefined library provided by Java? Are you going to develop your own class? And how you develop the attributes, private or public? That is data structure. And what is the kind of data structure? Array list, a linked list, tree. Okay. Alright. Java collection framework. Java different with C++. Alright. Java different with C lah. Because Java is object-oriented programming. Java consists of a collection, sometimes called as a container, which is an object that group multiple elements into single unit, such as interface collection. Java has string collection, and you can develop your own collection, student collection, class of student collection, class of computer collection, class of house collection. Depend on application. Okay, so this collection are used to store, retrieve, manipulate, and communicate to aggregate that data stored in the programming. Okay. Then the Java collection framework is part of package Java utility lah, and you can use the predefined Java collection framework, which is part from the package Java utility. So for array list, we are going to use array list utility from the Java utility. You have to include array list, predefined program in provided by Java. But for the linked list, you have to develop your own Java collection. You have to develop your own class for linked list. you have to develop another class related to linked list. Okay. So of course there should be basically a hierarchy, because sometimes the collection consists of superclass and subclass. It inherit some attributes or method from the superclass. Okay. With interfaces, which is the ADT with interfaces, and the abstract class. Yeah. Okay. A collection framework in Java can be interface, can be implementation, can be algorithm. So when you think about Java collection framework, you can declare interface, which is the ADT. Yeah, the ADT of the interface. Interface what class? Class student, class linked list, class array list, right? And then you have to think about the implementation, okay, for that collection. How to implement class student, how to implement the main class, how to implement the linked list class, how to implement the array class. And also you have to think about the algorithm. For complete program, you have to think about the algorithm, such as how to search data in that data structure, how to sort data descending or ascendingly. Okay. So what are the benefits of Java collection framework? Of course, it can reduce the programming effort, then it can increase program speed and quality, reduce effort to learn, because the new user or new programmer who are going to use your program, they don't have to understand details your program. They can just look at into your ADT, the abstraction, to give ideas about what the application is doing, right? What are the content of that application. So this is the best way to foster software reuse. Okay, the main advantage of object oriented programming is software reuse. We can reuse program, and we can add some modification for that existing program. Okay, this is example of collection library hierarchy. Collection hierarchy lah for the library exists in Java. Actually, we have stack, linked list, linked hash, everything is already available in Java. But for these codes, only array list you use predefined collection in Java. But the rest, stack, linked list, tree, you have to develop your own class for that data structure. Alright, I think that's all. This is another example. Okay, how to declare class. This is really general. Okay, alright, but okay, that's all. For it's better for you to have module by Puan Norma Ahmad. In that module, it consists of a complete program that you can follow, try to run, and look how the program provide give result. You can see the result. I think that's all first for the chapter 1. Thank you.